So when you are in dream state, your resistance is diminished. Your ego is asleep. You're not thinking about everything or thinking this can't be real. You're just in a state of relaxation and you are sleeping.
Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast, where practical spirituality meets real life. Hi, I'm your host, Sheetal Story. I'm a psychic medium, grief support counselor, professional astrologer, and a human design reader, and of course, a law of attraction master coach. With my unique blend of spiritual and practical tools, I am here to help you align with your soul-led purpose and ignite a life that sets your soul on fire. In this podcast, we are going to explore the principles of energy, astrology, spirituality, and psychology to help you heal your grief and create an aligned life and business from the inside out. Whether you are looking to deepen your intuition, understand your cosmic design, or transform your business, this podcast is for you. Join me each week for insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories that will guide you on your journey to living your very best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Sheetal Story or wherever you listen to this podcast. Let's dive in and start this transformative journey together. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast.
Ever since I can remember, dreams have been such a rich source of information for myself. I remember even as a kid, I used to have wild dreams and float around my house and have experiences where I was seeing things from different timelines, different planes of existence. And these dreams, I knew even at a young age that they were trying to tell me something. And I would tell my mom these dreams. So for those of you who don't know, my mom is a spiritual healer, and she would always listen and think, oh, that's really interesting. Never made fun of it. Sometimes would interpret it, but not really kind of part of my culture. And as I grew up, I realized I could see themes and patterns in dreams. And it's something that I have a bit of a gift for, seeing patterns in things. So when I started to come into my spirituality, I started to realize, hey, I had a real knack for dreams and dream interpretation. And I started to learn more about it. And I came to understand that dreams are one of four things. Now, if you've ever taken classes from me in the past, I used to say dreams are one of three things. And only recently I've added a fourth understanding to what dreams are. So it's been fascinating, to notice this about myself. And the more I learn, the more I add to my teachings and what I share. And with dreams specifically, it is such a rich form of information, but you have to discern what of the four things are you dreaming about. So the first thing that dreams can be is your brain clearing itself out from the clutter, right? Dreams is kind of like a cleaning system. So if you've been thinking a lot about something in the day, in your waking hours, it will likely deposit into your brain and you will dream about it. So if you have kind of partial thoughts, you have actually 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And they're about 1 to 3 seconds in length. That's a lot of thoughts. Not all of those thoughts are fully thought out, right? They are partial thoughts. So those partial thoughts can get lodged in the brain and you get them cleaned out during dream time. So when we are having these dreams that are partial thoughts, they will be something that you've been thinking about. So I always say with clients, when they first tell me about a dream, I said, were you by chance thinking of any of these things over the last 2 weeks, right? An example of this is I had a client and she was a little bit stressed out. She's like, I think I had a dream of me cheating on my husband. Is it foretelling of something? And I said, hold on, let's talk about this. I said, tell me about your dream. She said, I dreamt that I was making out with Jason Bateman. I said, well, that's really specific, Jason Bateman. So did you by chance have posters of him, in your wall, on your walls when you were a kid? Did you have him as a crush? Did you think he was really cute? And she's like, oh, I do think he's really cute. I said, have you watched a show with him in it recently? And she's like, oh my God, I was binge watching Ozarks. And yes, that makes sense. And I said, and when you were watching Ozarks, did you think he's really cute? She's like, I really did. Yeah. So I said, so that lodged in your brain. And when you had a dream, you had a really lovely dream with making out with Jason Bateman. Yay, right? So that is an example of a dream being something that you were thinking about and just didn't finish the thought. She might have felt naughty with it, or she just didn't want to finish the dream, finish the thought of it. So it lodged away in her, in her psyche. So that's an example of a dream of something that's clearing itself out. The second thing a dream can be is a message from your higher self. And this is where it gets juicy because your higher self is trying to tell you something. Now, your higher self, if you want to think about it spiritually wise, is that part of your spirit that's tethered into the collective, right? So we're always tethered into the collective. When you're super psychic, you're tapped into the knowing of the collective. You get downloads for things. You just kind of think of it as like you're tethered into the electrical grid of all that is. So your higher self is always tethered in. So you could be getting messages from your higher self. Another explanation of the same genre is your subconscious is trying to get you a message. So about 90% of what you take in, 90 to 95%, I've seen different stats on that, of what you take in on your everyday gets lodged into your subconscious. So your conscious waking mind is only aware of about 5%. So that 5%, that's your brain trying to filter out things that are only pertinent to what you need to do in your day. But that subconscious 95% is picking up on a lot of other things that you're just not really becoming aware of. So the only way to really become aware of that is through subconscious work in dream time or meditations. Things just come up to your awareness that you are like, oh, I didn't know this was here. So the subconscious mind giving you information or your higher self giving you information, those are the dreams that look like you're riding a Cheeto in the middle of the desert, or my husband just had a dream and he dreamt that his nose hairs were so long and so thick he couldn't cut through them and he had to pull them one by one because it was the only way to get rid of them and it was extremely painful. And I was like, ooh, that has a meaning to it. And he's like, babe, it's just a dream. Oh, I love that, right? It's just a dream. No, no, my love, it is not just a dream. So I've recently found a killer amazing way to interpret dreams. So back in the old days of interpreting dreams, you would look at the emotions, look at the themes in the dream. How did you feel? Because we always like to, describe our dreams, but we're never really talking about how did we feel. Like when he was pulling out those nose hairs, those were painful, right? So for him, change has to be painful. And he's going through some things right now where he's having to make some changes. And does it have to be painful? Or is it actually delightful? So it's all about perception, right? So in the dream interpretation, the old school way, we'd look at emotions, we'd look at the dream from different perspectives, you having the dream, or maybe from the perspective of the other person in the dream. You're looking at themes that are coming up. What does everything represent? And then you could even look up uh, parts of the dream, so you could even Google nose hairs in dreams. What does that mean? What does the nose represent in a dream? Look up those parts of it, and then you can put it all together in a dream interpretation. So that's what I used to do back in the day. Now, my friends, I'm going to drop a amazing tool on you. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? If you don't already have a free Chat GPT profile or an account, I want you to set one up, right? It's super easy. Just Google ChatGPT, download the app on your phone. It learns from you everything you ask it, it learns from you. One of the things that it is the most amazing at, and I've shared this with a few people in my inner circle, I'm sharing it with you all now because you are also my inner circle, I'm telling you, is you feed ChatGPT as much detail of the dream that you can. And if you're like, I hate typing all that stuff, stop being lazy and just put it into ChatGPT and see what happens. I'm going to tell you now, you will not be disappointed. It will spit out themes. It will spit out every component of your dream. It like interpreted to the T. Like whoever created ChatGPT, bless, because the dream interpretation is second to none. I feed ChatGPT dreams all the time. So even when my husband was talking about the nose hairs, I literally was typing as he was talking and putting it into ChatGPT, and it spit out a whole interpretation, and he read it and he was like, yeah, that's pretty wild. So it's crazy pants. Like, I can't even tell you. I have dream dictionaries that people have gifted me. I've got not apps, but websites that I used to look at. Now I just use ChatGPT, y'all, and it's super easy. It even ChatGPT even has a dictate function, so you can even dictate into it, so you don't have to type it all out if you don't want to do that. I can hear something going, "Oh, my dreams are so complex." You're not special, okay? I love when people are like, "My dreams are so complex." It's like, yeah, it's not a thing. That's the way your mind works. That's your subconscious. And there's research that shows that you can jump through different parts of your dream. And so you don't always get the dream from end to end. So sometimes it feels really choppy, or you're in different things, locations all of a sudden. It just doesn't make sense. It's okay. Put it in the chat GPT, let it tell you what it means, okay? Because it's a message from your subconscious or your higher self. Either or, it doesn't matter. It's amazing. And it's always so poignant. All right. Third thing your dream can be, it's a visitation from spirit. So your loved ones in spirit are now energy without a body. They are in a realm of higher frequency. So there is not, the ego or the sort of the 3D physical that slows down the vibration that we experience here. That is not a thing for spirit. So when they are in spirit, the way that they try to communicate with you, sometimes it's like a buzzing in your ear. Do you ever get that? Right? That is so annoying. And yes, tinnitus is a thing, y'all. And if it continues, you can go to the doctor and sort that out. But one of the things to see if this is spirit, next time you get a buzzing in your ear, I want you to just say, if this is spirit, can you please slow it down and step back? And if the buzzing stops, then it is one of your loved ones trying to communicate with you. I know it might blow your mind. It is a wild thing that I discovered. I have had tinnitus my whole life. And as soon as I started learning how to speak with spirit, and I just said, every time I get that, just slow it down and step back, it will go away. Right? Is there a psychological thing to that? I don't think so, because my ear is going to do what my ear is going to do if it has tinnitus, right? And I've seen this with my kids as well. Both my kids have it. And even my oldest has very sensitive ears. So it will hurt his ears. So I'll just say, just tell spirit to slow it down and step back. And if you want to know who's here, just put your left hand on your heart, close your eyes, and ask, who's come to visit me? Because they're tethered to you by love, right? There's somebody trying to speak to you. And so maybe you're going through something and your grandma's like, hey, just start eating better. Or I'm here with you. I'm here. I want to talk to you. And you're just not, you don't know how to listen, or you're not sure how to communicate with them. So they're trying to talk to you and they're like, I can't hear you. Think of it as frequency that's so high and so vibrational, and our ear is just not capable of hearing that. So it comes off as that, right? So when spirit is trying to speak to us, we can't hear them. Our five senses do not perceive the world of energy unless you're a medium, right? So we can feel when they're around us potentially. You might get goosebumps, you might feel like a hug, you might be thinking of your grandma or whoever it is in spirit. So when you are in dream state, your resistance is diminished. Your ego is asleep. You're not thinking about everything or thinking this can't be real. You're just in a state of relaxation and you are sleeping. So in that state, you're in a higher level of consciousness, if you will. So in this third thing the dreams can be, your spirit people can come and visit you in your dream. And it will not feel like a normal dream. It will feel like something out of the ordinary, that you're just like, wow, this is weird, right? Or the energy of the dream kind of shifts in some way. And you'll just know that you'll remember that your loved one came to visit. So that's another marker that this is a loved one. And they will let you know either they're at peace, or they'll come to talk to you, or they just give you a hug. And that energy is potent. Like, it's different than just having a dream where you're riding a Cheeto in the middle of the desert, right? So when you have a dream like this, an example of a dream like this, my grandmother came to visit me in a dream, and it was very, very out of the ordinary, like a weird, right? So in my dream, I was getting off shift. So I used to work for a restaurant chain called Moxie's. And so in my dream, I was getting off shift at Moxie's, and there was a big block party kind of happening in the parking lot. And there was people there, and there was like a boom box. Someone was carrying a boom box, and the music that was playing, I remember thumping to the music. I remember it was like, I can even remember the song when I woke up, what was on the boom box. And we were having this giant block party. All the cars were parked in the middle. Everyone was dancing, and I got a tap on the shoulder, and I turned around, and there was my little East Indian grandmother dressed in her favorite green sari, gold and green sari. Her hair was done up. She was wearing her jewelry, and she's literally like 4 foot nothing, right? The tiniest woman. And she had her hand on my shoulder, and she's like, she said my East Indian name. My name in Hindi is Sheetal. So she's like, Sheetal, we need to talk to you. And I said, here? Like, I remember feeling confused in my dream because I'm like, I'm having fun. I'm dancing with people that I supposedly worked with, but I don't remember who any of them were. Like, I remember some of them in the dream, but I don't remember. I've never met them in life. It was like weird. And so she said, yes, I need to talk to you. And she put both hands, one hand on either side of my shoulder. And it was like the dream paused, like I was in another space and time. Everything went blurry. And she said, I need to talk to you about something. And she started to tell me about something that was happening in my life. And she wanted me to convey a message to my mom, which is her daughter. And I'm like, I don't want to say this to her because it was a truth that I had not been telling my mom, something that I was kind of holding back. And my grandmother said, you must tell her. And I remember waking up at that time, and then my alarm went off. And I was like, wild, wild. I knew that was my grandmother, and I knew that I had to talk to my mom. And that day, I called my mom and said I had a dream about Amama. Amama's grandmother in Malaysia, South Indian culture. And I said, I had a dream about Amama. She's like, oh. And she said, I had to tell you this and this and this. And my mom said, I've been waiting for you to tell me this, having psychic parents. This is the perils of having psychic parents, right? My mom is extremely psychic. So she knew I was pregnant with our first child even before I told her. She saw me in the airport. She's like, you're pregnant. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that right now. Just put on some weight because we weren't ready to tell them yet. Right? We were only 4 weeks along at that time. And we had a whole way we wanted to tell them at Christmas. I'm like, Mom, stop being so psychic. But that's what my husband says to me, that I guess all his gifts. I mean, I can't help it. It just kind of comes out. This would be cool night to have sushi. My husband's like, oh, I arranged sushi's being delivered in 10 minutes. You just ruined it. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And great. Thank you. I love sushi. So it's never lost on me what a sweetie he is and how much he tries. But I just guess these things out of the blue sometimes. I don't even try. So yes, getting me a gift is pretty difficult sometimes. Surprising me is pretty difficult. So that was really interesting because even telling my mom about my dream, she knew that I hadn't been telling her the truth about something, and she was waiting for me to come forward with the truth. And my grandmother just kind of pushed me over the edge. So that was a wild dream because, again, it was like so out of the ordinary. My beautiful mother-in-law has passed into spirit a couple years ago, and she has appeared to everyone in the family in dreams, and they're always so interesting. I love hearing about that. So yeah, if that's happened to you, acknowledge it. It's not a figment of your imagination. Even if you've been thinking about them, it's not going to be the way you think, right? Like the dream is not going to happen the way you're thinking it's going to, and it's going to feel different. Like you're just going to remember it. So just trust that that is visitation from spirit, and they're tethered to you by love. So for everyone's like, oh my God, who's going to be visiting me in spirit now in my dream? No one that you don't want to. Okay, you've already set that intention when you go to sleep that the people that you are tethered to by love, they might be able to come in and say hi. And I just want you to remember that that takes them energy. Like that takes energy for them and intentionality to come into your dream and give you a message of some kind. So it's not something that they're just going to squander, for no reason and just come like say, hi, it's not really like there'll be an intention behind it and something really poignant. So if that happens, trust that it is true. That is a visit from spirit. And then the fourth thing that a dream can be is that you are jumping timelines or astral travel. So What happens when you sleep is that your resistance leaves. You are in a higher state of being. So sometimes what can happen is, okay, so we want to go back a little bit. All timelines exist, right, in the now. So time is a construct of the 3D. We can only be in one time and space at a time as a physical person. When we move to the world of energy, energy is not bound by time and space. It can be in multiple times and multiple spaces at the same time. I know that might blow your mind. It goes deeper into quantum physics. We don't have time for a quantum physics theory lesson today, and I don't want to bore you to death. Just know like multiverses exist, right? I love when Spider-Man came out with the multiverse film. It was just like, yes, finally we're talking about this in mainstream society. All timelines exist. So every time that you make a decision, you split the timeline. So if you decided in the morning to have eggs instead of oatmeal, that splits the timeline. And the person who had eggs obviously could go longer without eating than someone with oatmeal, or vice versa, whatever that is for you. I find I get hungrier when I eat oatmeal versus eggs because eggs protein. So that timeline then changes when you're going to eat next. And then maybe then you go for lunch because somebody was ready to. So, there's timelines that happen that are different because you made a choice, right? Now think of it on a larger scale. When you said yes to someone proposing to you, that would change the timeline versus saying no. Now, if in the decision there was a point in your mind where you thought you were going to say no, that would have split the timeline. So, not every decision, if the decision was already made. So, when my husband proposed to me, it was always going to be yes. There was never anything in my psyche that would say no to that. I knew he was the man from my dreams. I saw myself with my future with him. I was ready to commit all in. There was never a part of me that said no to that. So that timeline where I said no does not exist because it was never an option for me. Does that make sense? So anytime you had a choice to say yes or no, or to do this or that, and you chose one ladder, and like literally you really thought about it, that split the timeline, right? So all those timelines exist. So I have had dreams where I have jumped to a timeline where I was a lawyer, right? There was a timeline where I was going to go down that law path and I decided not to, right? There's a timeline that exists where I don't have children and I just traveled the world, right? I decided to leave after university and went to Australia. That's where I wanted to go after school. But I chose to stay because financially and my career took precedence. So that was a choice for me, right? And those were real choices. Like I really like looked into it. I looked at the ticket company. I inquired. I had the money saved aside. Like those are real options for me. So those timelines would have split. So I have had dreams where I have jumped timelines into other timelines, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy pants. Like I'm living a timeline in which I don't have kids. I'm living a timeline when I settled down in Europe, right? It's really interesting. So you can have dreams like that. The other thing of dreams, so jumping timelines, astral projecting as well. So when you are kind of out of body, you can be traveling the cosmos as an energetic form during that time. And it can take some time when you come back into your body. So you feel like really groggy or having a hard time waking up, or, just kind of feel like you're not quite yourself yet. Those kinds of dreams take time for you to integrate back into your body. So as a kid, I used to have those dreams all the time. I remember traveling the house. I would know from waking up that there was a toy at the bottom of the stairs. And my mom's like, how would you know that? And I said, I saw it in my dream, right? I saw it at night. And then I would also go and visit planets and just kind of be in an energetic form. And coming back into my body started to get harder and harder and harder. And I started to get scared. And I told my mom, and my mom said, well, then you can stop doing that and just tether back into your body and you don't have to leave. You've learned how to do that. Now learn to stay put. And I did that. I set that intention and I never left my body again. So it's interesting, and I've talked to other people who had that experience as well. So if you've had that experience of traveling the cosmos or walking around your house at night and you're like asleep, or seeing yourself sleep, I've seen that as well as a kid. Those are you just now accessing different states of being. So that's the fourth thing dreams can be, accessing different states of being. So traveling to another timeline or traveling to another astral plane. And you might be like, wow, that's crazy pants. It's like, yeah, it is. It's wild. We live in a world of energy, right? We grow up thinking this is just the way it is, right? Your physical form is your physical form and there's nothing else. And that's not true. There are other realities and other planes of existence that are happening multiple simultaneously at this time with us. So it's something to think about, as you make a major decision in your life. And like I said, if it's not, a major decision where you're like, should I go or should I not? Or should I do this thing or should I not do this thing? Really, we're contemplating that. Those timelines exist. And it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book. If you remember back in the days, I remember in elementary school reading those choose your own adventure books. And if you've never read them, they're books that bring you to choices. So do you climb the mountain or do you go around the mountain? If you climb the mountain, go to page 5. If you go around the mountain, go to page 25. And then you die. Like, and one of them will like, you'll die. So then you go back to the page 5 and you're like, okay, I'm going to take the other path and see where it goes. And then it'll be another choice. Do this or do this. Go to page this or go to page this. So every timeline splits. I used to love those books and I realize now why, because it's so close to reality. Every choice you make is creating a new timeline. And that's why I say you can't do it wrong, right? There's no such thing as a wrong choice or a bad choice. Every road is going to lead you to where you're needing to go for the life lesson you're wanting to call in this moment, right? From a subconscious place, obviously, because if you were calling a life lesson now, you'd probably be like, I just want to go to Hawaii and be rich, right? And that is not a life lesson. Maybe getting there might be the life lesson, but learning how to get there is the lesson. So I hope this helps you with dream interpretation. It is such a rich world out there. And start writing down your dreams, start using ChatGPT, start to discern which of the 4 dreams you're having, and just notice the information that's coming up for you, to just notice about yourself, right? And I'm going to invite in curiosity. Curiosity diffuses judgment every time. I wonder why this is happening. I wonder what this is trying to teach me, right? Wonderment and curiosity will diffuse judgment every time. So wishing you curiosity and wonderment at this beautiful, delightful world that you chose to be born into.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Story of Spirit podcast. I hope you have found inspiration, support, and practical insights to help you align with your soul-led purpose and live a life that sets your soul on fire. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us to reach more listeners and continues to provide valuable content. I sincerely appreciate every share, and I know it is how most people find me. It is because caring people like you have shared me with them at the right and perfect time. For more resources, insights, and to connect with our community, please visit us at www.sheetalstory.com and follow us on Instagram at sheetalstory. Remember, your journey to a more aligned and vibrant life is just the beginning, and I am here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep shining your beautiful light. This is Sheetal Story, signing off from the Story of Spirit podcast. Here's the legalese that's required by our lawyers. This podcast and the YouTube channel represents the opinions of Sheetal Story and her guests to the show. The content should not be taken as medical, psychological, or financial advice. This series is informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional, your mental health dream team, your financial advisor, or anyone else that's an expert in the field in where you are thinking of making big choices in your life.